Welcome to TrailManners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for TrailManners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Hello and welcome to the TrailManners podcast, episode number 79. Today we're going to kick off a new series that we're going to be doing here for a few months. We're going to be following around Jeff Hart, who got into Hardrock this year for his first time. So thanks, Jeff, for joining us via telephone here. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The TrailManners podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. All links are in the show notes.
All right, welcome to a new, I guess I'm going to call it an episode or a part of the TrailManners podcast. We've been teasing you guys for quite some time. We had an idea around the Hardrock lottery to kind of follow around a first-time hardrocker, almost hardrocker, I should say. To kind of get the training process and kind of what that individual goes through up until the race. And we were fortunate enough that a friend of ours that we'd met years ago drew out, and that is Mr. Jeff Hart, and he is with me right now. Jeff, how you doing today?
Pretty good, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I mean, I know you're busy. Jeff just moved from Utah to Washington, started a new job, bought a new house, trying to get his I guess roots down a little bit there, but quick little backstory is Jeff, when I met him, was from Pennsylvania, and we were running the Wasatch 100, and I believe it was 2011.
Yep.
And God, it was just after Chin Scraper. Not too long after we got to the top of Chin Scraper, we ran a good portion of the course to that next aid station and just pretty much chatted the whole way.
Yeah, that was great. In fact, I remember we were doing all that kind of downhill, some of those big wide roads, and we were clipping right along.
Yeah, we were.
And I was thinking the whole time we're chatting, it's like, oh, I really want to keep chatting with this guy, but holy cow, this is really fast for a 100-miler.
Yeah. We were going a little. Well, that's an easy section to go. I mean, you've run it since then too, and that's just an easy section to go fast on.
It is, yeah. In fact, I was going to say that this last year, 2016, when I ran Wasatch, I looked back. I for the first 100 I've done, I wore my watch, and this last year I was busting out 8-minute miles on that section.
Yeah, so it's cruiser part of the course early on.
Yeah, which I guess, and I should add, for me, that's very uncharacteristic. I mean, that's so fast.
Me too. Yeah, that's not even like a treadmill day for me. But yeah, it was awesome because we were cruising along on that section, and one thing led to another, and I spoke about how a group of me and my buddies were headed down to the Grand Canyon and the following spring, and God, then I think we didn't see each other the rest of the race. After the race, we might have saw each other, and then you ended up meeting us in the spring down at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. So I had Alexander Springs grief, and spent a lot of time dry heaving on my pacer's back. And you came away with a nice shiny buckle.
Oh yeah,
that year. So, yeah, I didn't see you again. And then, and of course, once I got my foot in the door, I wasn't going to miss out on a chance to do the rim to rim to rim.
Yeah, that snowed on us and everything.
Yeah.
That was a fun trip. That was a really fun trip. We were happy to have you come join us for that too. But that's kind of our history where we've met, and then we've kind of kept in touch here and there. And then last year I saw you at Wasatch, and you crushed it last year.
Yeah, we've run into each other at Speed Goat or a couple of other places, but yeah, the Wasatch. I mean, that was for me like a, I don't know. It's the best race I've ever had, the best performance I've ever had.
Well, and I remember when I saw it at the finish, I'm like, how'd you do? And what was your time? Like 26?
26, 30, 30 something,
Yeah,
30 change. Yeah.
that's awesome. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went into it, well, and full disclosure, I went into it having listened to your podcasts and listening to you and Joel talk about going no pacer, no crew, and I saw the elegance of that and the, I don't know, added mental difficulty, and I really wanted to do it. In the end, I kind of feel like it actually helped my performance.
did it?
I had less distractions. I couldn't, well, less distractions. I should say, I didn't have anybody I could bitch to at the aid stations.
Yeah.
Or anybody along the way that I could say, no, I really want to quit.
Yeah.
At Lambs Canyon, I ran into a really good lifetime friend of mine that she and I have done a lot of climbing. She was pacing and helping out somebody else. And it was the one time, which again, after that big long stretch from Big Mountain to Lambs where it's just hot and miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know I got tears welled up in my eyes, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. So I'm really glad there wasn't someone there the whole time, or I don't think I would have done quite as well as I did.
That's interesting. Yeah, me and Joel talk about that a lot, is the no pacer, no crew. We've had people talk to us about it. And I mean, that's such a Pandora's box, really.
Yeah.
It does take that right mindset to even attempt and tackle it, as opposed to just winging it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I had very specific training, very specific goals, and I stuck to some nutritional things. I mean, it was just all the cogs fit, and I've never had. Well, I mean, I don't think many people have a 100-mile race where it just feels like everything kind of came together.
Yeah.
Was it perfect? No, but it was the best I'll probably ever put together.
Yeah. Always put that feather in your cap on for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the important stuff. So
Yeah.
after Wasatch, you tossed your name in the Hardrock lottery. And how many times have you put in for Hardrock, if you could guess?
I think that this was either 4 or 5 years, with Wasatch 2011 being the first qualifier.
Okay. So you put in 4 or 5 times. And first of all, how did you find out you got in?
So I was with both of my boys. My older boy, Connor Hart, just had a baby. Yeah, that makes me a grandfather. That's messed up. So I was with him and my younger son, 11, and we were kind of talking, and my partner, Jen, who's with me, we're all kind of sitting there and we're watching the Twitter feed, and it's going down, and it's like they kind of release, or they tweet out like 4 or 5 names at a time, and they're down to the last 5. And I said, well, that's fine. I'll just do it another year. This is better this way because, we're moving and there's all kinds of stress. It's better. And then my name comes out second to last. So, yeah. So right away.
What did you feel when you saw your name there? I mean, what kind of went through your mind there in that probably like 30 seconds, but felt like a lifetime? What flashed through your head?
It was really kind of a mix of both excitement and that kind of, oh my gosh, finally this has happened, and oh my gosh, what the hell have I done? So yeah, a little bit of panic and a lot of anxiety, not in small part because after Wasatch, after every 100, I'm not one of these guys that just can repeat. I kind of take time off and eat pizza and ice cream.
Yeah.
So a little bit of panic too. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to really step it up. I better pick up my game.
So give everybody a quick little, just real quickly kind of a background. Like, how long have you been doing ultras since this, we're talking Hardrock and big stuff. How many years you've been doing ultras, and then maybe how many hundreds you've done, just to kind of give a background.
Yeah, so my first, I mean, I've had a background of doing a lot of mountaineering, lot of adventure sports, rock climbing, things like that. So I've stayed pretty fit, did triathlon for a long time. And then around 2010, something clicked in my body and I don't know, I stopped having as many injuries, although I'm really still injury prone, and started running longer distances and ran in the fall of 2010, ran my first, I think it was the fall of 2010. It might have been, no, yeah. Ran my first ultra, the Blues Cruise 50K out in Pennsylvania. And then went back up to Massachusetts and ran immediately after that my first 50 miler, the Stone Cat 50 miler. And I've done, actually, I don't really know. Maybe I should have been prepared, but I don't know. Maybe 30 ultras, 35 ultras, something around there.
Okay.
A lot of 50Ks. I prefer the more mountainous. I've done speed goat a couple times. Really enjoyed that suffering immensely. One time with good lungs and then one time with lowland lungs. And oh my gosh, that was just really bad. I've done, so a handful of 50 miler events, some, a couple 12-hour events. And I've done 300 milers. I've done Wasatch twice. And again, I'm really not going to make many fans on this podcast because I also got into Western States on my first draw. So I've done Wasatch, Western, and then Wasatch again, and now I'm doing Hardrock. So, in some respects, I don't feel like I've really paid my dues to be going to such a prestigious race, or at least to me, it's prestigious.
I think for anybody it would be, and even the Wasatch has a lot of history, and of course Western everybody's heard of. So, that's a pretty good background though. A lot of races, whether they're hundreds or not, just kind of dialing it in. And I'm with you. I enjoy the mountain stuff. I love the 50K, 50 mile distance. Probably the best. 50K,
yeah, same
favorite. Just it's a perfect distance. So what about your personal life? What do you do for occupation?
I am a professor. I have been a teacher, a public education teacher, and special educator out in the schools in both Utah and New Hampshire, and then used that to go back and get a PhD at Penn State. And I teach pre-service teachers who want to be special educators.
Okay.
And worked for a year and a half in heaven. I mean, southern Utah. And then took the job up here because it allowed my partner and I, Jen Thistle, to work at the same place. So we both got dual hired here at Western Washington University.
No, that's fantastic. In Bellingham, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of which, you guys recently had, well, it was the women's film festival, and I don't remember what, ADST or something. I don't remember. I apologize.
Yep.
Yeah. And you had Franny, who was a graduate from here. So I was excited to see that. That was great.
Oh yeah. That's right. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're busy with work, and now you're thrown in the mix, preparing for the Hardrock 100. Give us a little taste of what we had a brief conversation before we started to put the record button on. So, kind of back up. What's your training been like? I know, just briefly you said just kind of building that base right now because you've had the move and been injured and ill and stuff. But where are you at right now, and what's your training looking like?
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of relevant, and probably there's some population of your listeners that really would be interested in hearing from somebody that is injured a fair bit and doesn't typically run up with the front pack unless I pick the right race and there's nobody there. So when after the lottery, I really kind of just started being a little more consistent, 3 to 5 times a week. I was just running for maintenance. You guys mentioned on the podcast I was in Hawaii in January presenting research at a conference and got up to about 15 miles of mountain running there. And then came here and started to ramp up, getting around 30, 40 miles a week, and went out on some mountain bike trails and they, with lots of twists and turns, and it's called Galbraith Mountain. It's kind of world-class mountain biking, but really technical trails. And I think a lot of that kind of lateral back and forth, I seem to have pulled both Achilles or done something to my peroneus brevis ligaments. Anyway, between that and being sick, took a couple weeks off, and I'm back to just kind of building. So my building is, like right now, because of time, I carry a pack, like about a 20-pound pack right now. I'll ramp that weight up as I go on, but about a 20-pound pack at 2.25 miles to and from work. So I walk to work every day, and then I'm running 3 or 4 times a week on top of that. So right now my mileage is around, I think last week I had about 47 miles total. And of that, maybe half of it was, well, I don't know, that would be 24 of it, 23 of it would have been walking, and then the rest would have been running. So a little bit of half and half.
Okay.
And nothing more than about a 10-mile run right now. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now.
So what's your, Hardrock, is known just for brutality and climbs and altitude and, that type of thing. Not a lot known for running. It's not a race you run 100 miles unless you're one of 2 people in the world, maybe. But how are you going to incorporate some of that elevation training where you're at? Have you thought about
I have, a lot, because living in Cedar City, I was just primed. I was living at 6,000 feet, and I could go out my door, and in 4 miles, I could be up to 10,000 plus. But here, my house is at 400 feet, and the Chuckanuts, which are my go-to area, go up to about 1,800 feet. So as far as elevation, like actual elevation, I'm kind of saving some of that for summer when I can get out to the North Cascades, which, it's pretty easy to get up to 6,000 to 8,000 feet. I'll probably do some stuff on Mount Baker. It's a 10,000 foot peak, but it's glaciated, so it's not exactly running. But I'll save it for the last 3 weeks. I'm planning to go out to Silverton, or the Silverton area, 3 weeks before the race.
Okay.
But while I'm here for, hill training, I pick out the steepest trails, and I just pick out as much elevation as I can. There's a trail here called the Pine and Cedar Trail. It goes up to a couple of beautiful little alpine lakes. And I just go and do hill repeats there. So I have a mile. I'll do the first mile of that trail and get about 900 feet, I think, in that mile. So it's a steep mile. And then, before I hurt my ankles, I was up to maybe 6 times. I did that 6 times. So,
okay.
Yeah, really fun, entertaining, go back and forth, up and down a hill.
Repeat.
Yep.
We do that on Maylands here in Ogden area. So
yeah.
A monster. So since we're talking about Hardrock, I'm just going to kind of blast you with a few questions just to kind of set the table for it. And you said you plan on going down early. What about a crew? You got a crew all lined up?
My crew is going to be my partner, Jen, and my younger son, Xander, who's 11 and excited. And he actually is going to join cross country so that he can maybe pace me. I don't know how that'll work out, but we'll see. But he's excited about it and talks about it. But other than that, I don't really have much more on the way of crew. I know, crew there is maybe not unique to mountain ultras, but typical of mountain ultras in that there are fewer places to be able to access, and without 4-wheel drive, it's not exactly easy to get a lot of places there. So
Yeah. What
So
about?
I'm less worried about crew, but pacers. Yeah, well, as soon as the lottery results came through, I heard from a lot of friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
um, but nothing solid. I haven't agreed to anything. Haven't told anybody. So I'm really kind of open to it.
But you've
Uh,
got offers?
well, the one solid offer who I had immediately said or would have said yes to, then turned around and actually got lucky and got called into UTM or got pulled for UTMB.
Oh, wow.
So, guy from Pennsylvania, Jeff Calvert, is a great guy. Good, solid runner. He just did Mogollon down in Arizona last year
Oh, yeah.
and crushed it down there. So, yeah. So I'm open. So, hit me up.
Yeah. So what have you ever run down into the Silverton area before? Have you been down there? Have you done any running or visited or anything?
Yeah, I have family in Cortez, and so just south of that Silverton area. Um, and I've been down in the San Juans for hiking and different things, but I've never actually done any running in the
Okay.
San Juans. So it's really kind of a new area for me.
Nice. It's so. I've only been down there a couple times. I went down and crewed for Scott Jaime one year, and know what you're talking about with the crew. It can get gnarly getting to some spots that they say crew can be at. So
Yeah.
you have Ray and Telluride, some of the friendlier paved areas
Yeah.
that are, and then went down and had the fortune to run, up Handies and kind of get out on the trails a little bit. So it's one day for me for sure. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I hope so because I mean, part of my desire to do it. I mean, I've had a desire to do it for a very long time. It was one of my ultimate goals for running 100 milers. Between Wasatch and Hardrock, those are the two that I just really, they're the passion, the drive. But then along the way, I see, pictures of some of my northern Utah friends going out and doing soft rock, and
Yeah.
and just so inspiring.
Well, I'm actually hoping to get down there. I've got the Beaverhead 100K the weekend before, but I absolutely want to get down to Hard Rock just because it's one of the not just beauty, but just the people, the people, the tribe, if you will, that's down there. It's just one huge event that everybody loves everybody.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that, and it's probably why I like Wasatch too. My uncle was involved with the development of Wasatch, and uh, and so I was aware of Wasatch back in the '80s. So I've had a drive for this for a long time, just never really pushed for it. Oh, but so you're doing Beaverhead 100K the weekend before?
Yeah,
Oh, well then you're good. So I can have you pace me for what 40 miles. That'll put you around 100 miles for a week.
I can probably take you from the start to the end of the road.
Okay. Yeah.
Trust me,
Well,
the idea is crossing my mind though, because I want to get out on the course. I want to pace. I enjoy it. I just am worried about how trashed I'll be.
yeah. Well, I get it, and the offer is out there because I have no intentions of trying to do anything like Wasatch, which while I know it's pedestrian for most of the elites, but 35th place for me at Wasatch was just phenomenal.
Wow, that is pretty sweet. That's
Hard,
different.
uh, yeah, Hard Rock is a totally different thing. Mostly because they only have the one buckle, so I'm glad for that.
Yeah,
So I just want to finish.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be moving fast. I want to see and experience everything with that race.
Now, have you reached out to anybody who's done the race for just some I want to say advice or help or tidbits? Have you reached out to anybody to kind of pick their brain at all?
Um, if I'm like running with someone who's done it, then I'm picking their brain as we go. I'm on the Hard Rock mail listserv, the mail group.
Oh yeah.
So I'm watching like the snow reports, and I can see that there's a monster load of snow right now. But I'm kind of paying attention to that stuff, but not really actively seeking anything right now.
Nice.
I bought the map that they recommend. Actually, I have several maps for it, and I've gone through all of my ultra magazine, past ultra magazines that talk about it, so that I can kind of digest everything.
Yeah.
I just haven't got to it yet.
I think that's good. And the reason I ask that is I talk to a lot. I mean, we all talk, that's what trail runners do. We talk to people, and I know talking to a lot of people that have done Hardrock and conversation, they're like, the hard thing to do with Hardrock is not to get too much information to where you're on overload and you're not doing it your way. If that makes sense. So, I mean, I think it's always great to get advice from people because there's just so many little things, but at the same time, like you mentioned, you kind of got to go in to be who you are, kind of play to your strengths, your know-how. So I think that's probably a good thing to do as well.
Yeah, and for me too, because I tend to get these little niggling things that if I'm not careful will sideline me. I really I guard myself against that over excitement. For instance, with my ankles, the first thing that goes through your head, and I'm sure everybody deals with this, but is, oh my gosh, how am I going to what if this doesn't happen? What if I've gone through all that work? What if I don't get into Hardrock this year? Oh my gosh, I can't start again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of reserved on that kind of stuff, but then when I'm running, it's there every run. It's okay, this is training, this is for Hardrock. This is why I'm doing it. So,
well, I'm excited for you in many ways. Not just to race, but your kind of journey there, because I think that's where the work is, and then you get to the race, and that's kind of your reward or the celebration of all the work you've put in. So I'm excited to see how you do and follow you along the way. So we'll kind of keep touching base with you, kind of make this our own little special part of the TrailManners show until Hardrock, and then of course after Hardrock. And next time we meet here on the phone, we'll cover some stuff, kind of your training again, and then maybe what you have set up before that. So does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great. I'm really looking forward to it, and having that kind of external culpability. People know about it now, so I can't bail out.
That's right, and that's everybody listens to this show. So
oh yeah. I mean, I can't. I can't get away from it.
You got 4 people going to hold you accountable to listen to the show. So
yeah.
Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time. Little intro here, and then we'll catch up with you in a week or two and see where you're at and just follow you through the whole process.
No, I'm excited about it, and thanks for the opportunity. I love to share, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time, and good luck until we talk.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the TrailManners podcast. We'd like to thank Jeff Hart for taking the time to join us today, and I already look forward to a few episodes to come following up with his training for Hardrock. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners, or you can swing by the website at TrailManners.com. There on the store page, there's some cool gear. Keep checking that often. And you can hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or even if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.